Boker Tov on this lovely Yom Rishon, this lovely first day of Shabbat, first day of this week, the 5th of July and the 13th day of Tammuz. It's nice to start our week together. Good to see people filing in, virtually speaking, as we get ready for another new day. It is beautiful outside, and I hope people feel rested and ready for whatever awaits each of us. Hopefully we can continue to work together to make this day a great one, to make this week a great one. You get the idea. I think we do. It's just give us a moment to actually start at the time that we begin. But it is in fact good to see people saying hello to one another and greeting one another and greeting the day as we come together here today for specifically that purpose. Boker Tov. It is wonderful to be here together on Boker Tov from Temple Sinai on this daily offering of Sinai Streams, Temple Sinai of Toronto's online presence, and this opportunity each day for us to connect, to reflect, and to remember. And so it's wonderful to be here with you and to start the new week by reflecting on ourselves, on how we got here, and not just how we got here wherever you happen to be at the moment. I already had a lovely walk this morning, but instead about how we got here in the ultimate sense. And so let's turn to these words of creation from Asher Yetzal, and let's join together today in the English. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you have fashioned our bodies with wisdom, creating within us a finely balanced network. To stand before you in prayer is itself a fragile miracle. Eternal God, we praise you as the healer of body and spirit. And let's join in Elohei Neshama, both in Hebrew and in English today. We haven't said it together in Hebrew in a while. Elohei Neshama shenatata bi Torahi, ata varata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ata meshamra b'kilbi, kol zman shanshama b'kilbi. Modeh ani lefanecha, Adonai Elohai v'Elohei avotai, ribon kol ha'ma'asim, Adon kol ha'neshamot, Ochata Adonai asher biyado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol b'sar ish. The soul that you have given me, O God, is a pure one. You have created and formed it, breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. So long as my soul is within me, I will give thanks to you, eternal my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. We praise you, eternal God, in whose hand is the power of all life and the spirit of all flesh. And let's join together in the bracha for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, v'arev na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu, v'rafi amcha beit Yisrael, v'niyeh anachnu v'tzetzeenu, v'tzetzei amcha beit Yisrael, kulanu yodei shemecha, v'lomdei Toratecha lishma. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Blessed is the eternal our God, who in fact is our teacher, the teacher of Torah to the people of Israel. Torah is all around us, and there is every day and every moment an opportunity to learn and grow through the teaching of our tradition and through our people's emphasis on learning. Even as we recite Shema each day, we do so with an opportunity to reflect. To be aware that when Shema talks about the lev or the levav, the heart, that it doesn't merely mean emotion, but it talks about the intersection of emotion and intellect. And that's one of the interpretations, not of the word lev, meaning heart, but levav, another with two bets, which traditionally they say it means that we need to love God and our fellow human being with all of our desires, our good inclinations and our bad inclinations, all of them to serve. Or likewise, I like to think of it as well as the joining of intellect and emotion. Let's join together in Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. And we recite Shema each and every day, and yet today is the beginning of a new week. And so traditionally, Havdalah is not merely the home service that's often done on Saturday night, but is an additional prayer that is added to our first Amidah after Shabbat is over. And since our community doesn't have a public Saturday night prayer service, at least not at this time, we join in Havdalah this morning. And so we'll be reciting the English today. Maybe another week we'll join in the Hebrew. And this, as it says on the side, is traditionally added to the first blessing at the center of the Amidah, which acknowledges our ability to distinguish the gift of intelligence. Please feel free to join me. You have graciously given us the chance to know your Torah and taught us to observe your laws. Eternal our God, you have allowed us to see the distinctions between holy and ordinary, between light and dark, between Israel and other nations, and between the seventh day and the 6 days of work. Eternal my God, God of my fathers and mothers, may the days to come bring peace, free of wrongdoing and filled with reverence. Blessed is the generous source of intelligence. Well, now that we've had a bit of a chance to pause and to reflect together, it's time for us to do just a little bit of learning. And today is the day where, and we'll take a break from them after today and come back a little bit. But today is in fact the day where we have the opportunity to hear the last of the 13 steps, the 13 midot, the 13 self-development projects of Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Satana from his book Cheshbon HaNefesh, Spiritual Accounting. And so as we've done each day, before we speak about the 13th one, we're going to reflect on all of those that we've had the chance to learn so far, just in the English, because we want to make our way through it so that we can learn the new one today. But please, because these are not things that we hear once and move on, but these are ongoing projects. And I'm going to decide over the next couple of weeks how in the future to work in at least one of them on a daily basis. But before we do that, let's join together here and review them as we add the last one. Please feel free to recite them with me. Equilibrium. Rise above small events, whether good or bad, that are not worth throwing off your spiritual equilibrium. Patience. When something bad happens to you that you could not have avoided by being careful, don't make it even worse through pointless sorrow. Organization. Order. Let all your doings and plans be orderly, each one in a fixed time and place, so that your mind will always be free to address what is before you. Determination. In all matters, begin by calmly and coolly thinking things through. Once you have decided, get up and do it, and don't delay. Neatness or cleanliness. Let there be no confusion or ugliness in your things or in your dwelling, let alone about your body or clothes. Humility. Keep silent in order to learn from all those around you, acknowledging what is lacking in you and seeking to fix it. This way, you will learn to turn your mind away from your strengths or the defects of others. Righteousness. What is hateful to you, do not do to others. Thrift. Be careful with your money to avoid spending even a quarter unnecessarily. Productivity. Always find something to engage in toward your own good or the good of others. Don't allow a moment of your life to be lost without purpose. Silence. Before you open your mouth, be quiet and carefully consider what benefit there truly is to yourself or others from speaking. Balance or ease. Sages choose their words and actions carefully so that they are not called evil for doing good. Truth. Do not allow even a single word from your mouth unless you know in your heart that you can establish its truth from all sides. And now the 13th midah, abstinence, prishut in Hebrew, turning away. Strengthen yourself against evil or corrupt thoughts. Seek purpose, not pleasure. Let me read that one more time. There's so much in these very few words. Abstinence. Strengthen yourself against evil or corrupt thoughts. Seek purpose, not pleasure. There really seem to be two different aspects to this principle, this project. One of them is an awareness of the power of thoughts. Now, Judaism is very careful not to consider us to have done something if we think about something. It is natural and normal for us to have worthy thoughts and not so worthy thoughts. We know this is part of our being, and yet what Rabbi Levine says here is that it's very important to strengthen ourselves against them. While it does say in the Talmud, Devarim shebalev einam devarim, that words that remain in the heart, that in fact are never spoken, are in fact not words, meaning that when we just have thoughts and we stop there, that is a normal process. But notice it says words that stay in the heart, right? There is this step that we know that our thinking is the genesis of our actions. First thinking, then speaking, then testing or piloting, and then doing. Many of us in our lives, I'm certainly in this category, have done things that we later look back and said, I cannot believe that I did that. How did I get to a point where I made that particular kind of mistake? And Rabbi Levine is talking about that process, and we're able to acknowledge challenging or inappropriate thoughts and stop them at that point. Then it gives us the strength to turn away from the unfortunate actions that might otherwise come from them. And there is a principle that we can apply that I think is important. He recognizes, again, Rabbi Levine looks at us as being, in the traditional Jewish way, part angel and part animal, that there is this physical urging within us on all different kinds of levels, and as well as the intellect, the soul, the higher part of our being. And so when we have thoughts and directions and find ourselves moving in a direction, we should ask ourselves, am I seeking purpose or pleasure? This is not to say that pleasure is a bad thing, but it's understanding pleasure in the sense of simcha shel mitzvah, of the joy that comes from doing a mitzvah, a sacred obligation, the joy that comes from purpose. And so in this particular teaching, when we talk about abstinence, it's not about sitting in the corner and saying, it's okay, I'll sit in the dark. It's not about turning away from positive things in our life. It is instead about being aware of the chain of events that's constantly unfolding inside of us. And to say, wow, look at some of the wonderful directions and thoughts. Look at the purpose I can find in connection and in love, in saying a no that's really no, in staying away from certain actions. All of these can be a source of purpose, and that we can learn to find fulfillment, to find joy in those purposes, and in knowing that our lives are part of something larger. This last principle, while the word abstinence in English carries a lot of different baggage, I think it shares with us a really important lesson about who and what we are, and about how it is that we can, by focusing internally, avoid finding ourselves in situations where we ask those questions, how did I get here? Of course, there are a number of things that happen completely outside of our own self and control, where we tend to ask, how did I get here? Certainly issues of illness and injury and isolation fit all too well into that category. And so as we've done each day during the shutdown, and likely will continue, we turn to our prayer of refuah, our prayer for healing and strength, which we wish for all who need it. For each and every person that our community is aware of who needs strength and healing, for those that we don't know of, for those who are battling illness, and for those who are on the front lines helping us in day-to-day efforts and battles. For all of them, on every lines, front lines, back lines, whichever they are, we join together for all in these words of healing. משברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב ואמותינו שרה רבקה לאה ורחל הוא ירפא את כל מכותינו יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו להחלימם ולרפאותם וישלח לנו מהרה רפואה שלמה ועטרת שלום ונאמר Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer. May it be the divine will to provide healing and strength. Reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and together we say, Amen. And so now that we've had this moment to reflect, we take just a moment so that we can remember, recalling those who died in recent days and weeks, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Today, on Shloshim, in the last 30 days, we extend our condolences to the families of Reuben Devlin, Jerry Goldstein, David Garber, Zena Werb, Robert Filler. And on your site, this 13th day of Tammuz, on the anniversaries of their passing, we remember Neil Berger, Bernice Diamond, Morris Herman, Sylvia Jacobs, Charles Kaufman, Jenny Kay, Arnold Levy, Ruby Razminsky, Bessie Render, Maurice Shaikoff, Samuel Stein, Robert Bob Strom, Lillian Vine. Zichronam Nevracha. May their memories be a blessing to us. Our griefs and our sympathies are mingled, as together we turn to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope in the Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah, ve'alma divarach iruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh dechol bet Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, Amen. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן ועלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במומד, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and bring comfort and strength to all who remember, and together we say Amen. We'll have a wonderful day and week. Let's start out our week finding joy and purpose in our moments in this particular wonderful day. Boker Tov. Let's go make it a good one.